Imagine a kingdom living on borrowed time, a nation that literally saw its neighbor collapse and yet is walking down the exact same path. This isn't just ancient history, you know. It's a high-stakes drama full of warnings, rebellion, and a final desperate countdown to disaster told by the very people who saw it all coming. This is the story of Judah's final warning. So our story unfolds right here, in this 136-year gap between two totally catastrophic events. In 722 BC, the northern kingdom of Israel is just wiped off the map. Gone. And its sister kingdom in the south, Judah, has a front-row seat to the whole thing. They're the only ones left, and pretty much every prophet we're about to meet is shouting the same thing. Don't let what happened to them happen to you. So we're going to follow this countdown as the warnings get louder and frankly more urgent. We'll start with a kingdom that's been put on notice. We'll hear from prophets in the palace and out in the countryside, see how the message shifts to an immediate threat, and we'll even meet a prophet who questions God's own plan before Jerusalem finally falls. And then we'll ask, is there any hope left?
Okay, so the stage is set. The northern kingdom is gone. Just a smoking ruin that serves as this constant, nagging reminder. For the people of Judah, judgment is no longer some theoretical idea. Nope, it's a recent historical event, and the question just hanging in the air is simple. Are they going to learn from their brother's mistakes?
Right into this incredibly tense moment, God raises up two very different voices to deliver the same warning from completely different angles. So let's meet the first pair of prophets on our countdown, Isaiah and Micah.
And what's so fascinating here is the strategy. It's like a paired witness. You've got Isaiah, the insider, walking the halls of power in Jerusalem, speaking directly to kings. His whole message is rooted in this grand vision of God's unshakable holiness. But then you have Micah, the total outsider from the countryside, seeing the effects of all that elite corruption on the ground, land being stolen, the poor being crushed. You just can't escape this message. It's coming at you from the top down and the bottom.
See, the people of Judah, they felt safe. They thought, hey, we've got the temple, we've got the royal line of David, we've got a kind of spiritual immunity card. Well, Isaiah's job was to tear up that card. He declared that the temple doesn't protect rebellion, and going through religious motions doesn't excuse injustice. Judgment, he warned, was absolutely certain. But, and this is so important, he also insisted that hope was unstoppable.
And while Isaiah was navigating palace politics, Micah was out in the fields, just cutting right to the heart of it all. He strips away all the ceremony, all the sacrifices, and he just boils covenant faithfulness down to this. This isn't about what you do in the temple for an hour a week. It's about how you live every single moment. Justice, mercy, humility. That's the standard. And Micah makes it crystal clear that the failure to meet it is precisely why the nation is on a collision course with disaster.
All right, let's jump forward in time a bit. The warnings from Isaiah and Micah have been echoing for decades now, but Judah hasn't really changed. So the next prophet, Zephaniah, he doesn't bring a new message. He brings a new timeline. The danger is no longer a someday problem. It's here. It's at the door.
So this is a huge deal. It's a radical reframing of a popular idea. The people were all looking forward to the day of the Lord. They thought it was the day God would show up and destroy all their enemies. And Zephaniah drops this bombshell. For a corrupt and unfaithful nation, when God shows up, you are the enemy he's coming for. It's a day of reckoning, not rescue.
And this gets right to the core of Zephaniah's warning. He's an insider, maybe even from the royal family, and he says the biggest danger isn't some loud rebellion, it's quiet apathy. It's the people who are settled on their lees, which is an old winemaking term for wine that's just been left to grow thick and stagnant. They've gotten comfortable, numb. They don't actually expect God to do anything anymore. And he declares, judgment's going to start right there, in the heart of the city.
Okay, so after Zephaniah's urgent alarm bell, we meet a really different kind of prophet. Habakkuk isn't just a messenger. He's more like a debater. He sees all the injustice in Judah, and instead of just condemning the people, he turns to God and, well, he demands an explanation. Now, this isn't a cry of disbelief. It's actually a cry of profound faith. Habakkuk believes so strongly that God is good and just, that the rampant, unchecked evil he sees all around him just doesn't compute. He's basically saying, God, I know who you are, so why doesn't the world reflect that? How long are you going to let this go on?
God answers, but wow. The answer makes the problem 1,000 times worse. His solution to Judah's injustice is to use an even more wicked, violent, and ruthless nation, the Babylonians, as his instrument of judgment. For Habakkuk, This is a massive paradox. How can a perfectly holy God use pure evil to accomplish his will?
And here it is. This is God's ultimate answer. It's not some detailed explanation of geopolitics. It's a principle for survival. Faith, in this context, it's not wishful thinking. It's trusting God's character and his ultimate justice, even when current events seem to completely contradict it. It's about living by what you know to be true about God, not by what you see in the headlines.
Habakkuk's journey from protest to praise ends right here, in one of the most powerful statements of faith ever written. This is a trust that has been stripped of all visible support. Even if everything collapses, the economy, the food supply, national security, his foundation won't be in his circumstances, but in God himself.
So let's move to our final prophet before the collapse. The time for warnings, for questions, for debates, it's all over. What's left is the execution of the judgment. And Jeremiah is the man who will not only predict the catastrophe, but will be forced to live through it, step by agonizing step.
I mean, can you imagine? For over 40 years, Jeremiah's life was just one of relentless opposition. His message was seen as treasonous. Don't fight Babylon, submit to them as God's judgment. He actually wore a wooden yoke on his shoulders as a living, breathing sermon. And for this, he was beaten, thrown in a dungeon, and treated like an enemy of the state. His only vindication was the tragic one of watching everything he predicted come true.
But right in the middle of all the chaos and destruction, Jeremiah gives a specific number. The exile will last 70 years. Now this is so important. It tells the people that this isn't the end. This isn't just random chaos. It is a defined period of discipline with a bookend. It's a sign that God is still in control, even in the midst of a total collapse.
And this is Jeremiah's most enduring message of hope. He says the old system, based on external laws, well, it was broken by the people. So God promises something totally new. He won't just give them a law to follow. He's going to write that law directly onto their hearts. Judgment isn't the final word. It's the necessary, painful clearing of the ground for a radical inner transformation.
So you see, the prophets didn't just predict doom. They actually provided a framework for understanding disaster, for enduring it, and ultimately for finding a reason to rebuild and have hope on the other side of it all.
This line, traditionally attributed to Jeremiah, is just breathtaking. Think about it. He is physically walking through the smoking rubble of his beloved city, a place of death and devastation. And this is what he declares. He finds hope not in what he can see, but in the unchanging character of God. Even in total ruin, compassion remains.
So as we look back, we see this really clear progression. Isaiah sets up the foundational tension. Judgment's coming, but hope will survive. Micah grounds that judgment in the nation's social injustice. Zephaniah grabs the nation by the shoulders and screams that time is up. Habakkuk then shows us how a person of faith can wrestle with God when his methods seem unjust. And finally, Jeremiah walks the people through the fire itself, making sense of the trauma while pointing toward a renewed future.
And that leaves us with this timeless question. The prophets of Judah show us that real hope isn't found in ignoring warnings or denying reality. It's often discovered right there, in the very middle of the rubble, by holding on to a purpose and a promise that can survive even the most devastating collapse.